I'm Tim Tyler. I'm a loan officer with Supreme Lending here in Eugene, Oregon. I'm with my good friend Gary Reyes from ReMax Integrity Real Estate. And I just wanted to, ask Gary some questions about what he sees happening in the real estate world. Right now, what I'm seeing is, in our world, we're seeing more applications. We're definitely seeing a lot more activity. And you're seeing that as well, I'm sure. What do you attribute that to?
That's a good question, Tim. We have, we just finished December, so things weren't really hopping at that time, of course, that's normal.
Sure.
But then January came around and oh my gosh, people, lots of pent up activity. So we're getting a lot of new buyers out there, and we're having a lot of people that are wanting to move on with their goals, so to speak, whether it's moving up or moving down, downsizing. Right. We've received a lot of activity in that fashion. Just as you said, I'm sure you've had a lot of applications for loans.
It was just night and day, after the holidays are over, and like you said, I mean that's pretty normal.
What's interesting, Tim, is that, we were expecting this big drop in house prices. And of course, that didn't happen. It took in an entire year, we only went down 1%, with all those rate increases. But even from December to January, we've gone up 1%. So, I mean, our median price now here in Lane County is about $413,000. And that's where we're at the moment. And I anticipate, and you can reply to it, I guess I want you to say, we can decide down the road if the things are going to go up or down, but we suspect that prices are actually going to inch upward because we still have such a pent up need for housing and we don't have enough inventory.
Right. Yeah. The inventory problem's not getting any better, and the demand is increasing. We're going to see the demand increase even more. With the interest rates following the path of inflation. Although it's kind of a slow drop, but we saw a big difference between, when the rates were like at 8, versus when they dropped down to 7. And then we got down into the 6s, and it seems like that's kind of a psychological point where people start thinking about doing things and acting.
What I kind of get a kick out of is when young people say, well, Mom, Dad, what percent did you pay? We paid 9%, or we paid 13%. Bottom line, though, in the 30-year average, it's always been around 6%. So we're really back to where it is normal. We had that once in a lifetime where it went down clear up into the 2s when they were giving away free money. But those days are gone.
Yes.
We're back to normal, so to speak.
Yeah, I agree.
So what do you anticipate for the future as far as interest rates?
Yeah, no, I'm seeing kind of the same thing that you are. It would take another pandemic or something very serious, some kind of financial crisis to bring rates back into the 2s and 3s again. Let's hope that doesn't happen.
Well, you're saying that not because of the interest rate, but because what caused it.
It's because of it,
something bad
the kind of pain that's going to be inflicted on us to benefit from those low rates. Let's hope that doesn't happen. But yeah, I agree with you. I think, they've been kind of all over the map as far as predicting where rates are going to go. I would say that we're probably going to be maybe upper 5s, possibly in a couple of years. But it's going to be a very slow boat to China as far as rates coming down.
We know that if you bought within a few months from now, you bought at a certain price and the price inched up after that, you're locked in.
Yes.
The interest rate, however, is something that you have the opportunity to change if the interest rates were going to go down. Is that accurate?
Oh, it's 100% accurate. And people really know that, right? Because that's the reason why they're still buying homes right now. Otherwise, if rates were at 8%, you wouldn't see many people buying homes unless they thought that payment was going to drop at some point. So they're very in tune to that, and we're very in tune to that in our industry. And what we're really trying to do is we're trying to set people up into situations where they do a pretty low cost mortgage today. And don't pay a whole bunch of points to buy down the rate, because you're only going to have that rate probably 2 to 3 years before you'll have that opportunity to refinance.
A lot of people are pretty attuned to what you use the word points.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's so essentially what that means is to buy down the rate more. And that comes at a cost. So if you want to buy the rate down, like a half a point or something in rate.
0.5%.
Yeah, 0.5% in rate. So if you have like let's say 7% is the going rate, you want to get that down to 6.5. That's going to cost you, a point or 1.25% of whatever that loan amount is.
Okay.
And that's a true cost. So that adds to your bottom line as far as your cash.
So you're really prepaying some interest is really what you're doing.
Correct. You're buying down that current rate of interest to get a lower payment and paying lower interest
from there
on the loan thereon.
Sure.
Until it's refinanced.
So if my buyers wanted good advice about strategies, they could come to you and ask you certain questions, and you could lead them to what is the most advantageous for them, which may not be
Correct.
For the next person. It may be every individual has certain needs of which you could fine tune your mortgages to their needs. Is that correct?
That's exactly right. And what I do is I put them on a spreadsheet, option A, option B, option C, and we'll look at the lowest interest rate, because that's what people come to me and they go, I want the lowest rate. Mm-hmm. So I show them what that looks like and what that cost is. And then I show them, what the rate at a lower cost looks like. It might be a higher rate and a higher payment, but you're only going to be paying that for probably 2 to 3 years before you turn around and refinance when the rates drop into the 5s or 6s, whatever. Where are we at?
That makes sense.
Yeah. So So another question I would have. I mean, you're talking about this new. Well, it's not new, but you have some money on the sidelines that's starting to get invested. Are you seeing people who are buying investment properties?
The investment properties aren't as popular as they once were because of the current interest rate situation, in which they have to charge really high rents to make everything work out. So that's, I don't see as much investing as it used to be. During the pandemic, so to speak, there were a lot of people that needed to be purchased out or bought out, so to speak, so they could get on with their lives. And so a lot of investors took advantage of that and were able to purchase from that. But in today's world, with the pandemic gone, we're at full employment. They're not as likely to sell at a lower cost to an investor. An investor has to buy lower to make a profit. It's profit motivated for an investor. One thing too, I know some people have known this. Some of the older people know this, but some of the young people may not. What would happen if I made, let's say, one extra payment per year? What would happen?
Yeah, so on a 30-year fixed mortgage, the rule of thumb is if you pay one extra payment a year toward principal, that means that it goes toward the principal of the loan. And you have to set that up with the loan servicer and say, this is what the money for. I want it to go toward the principal balance of the loan. I don't want it to be a prepayment for the next month, right?
Sure.
So if you do that, you can knock off 7 years off your loan. So instead of paying it off in 30 years, you're paying it off in 23.
So if I paid my loan off in 23 years as opposed to 30 years, that's a boatload of money I'll be saving.
So it's a lot of interest. Yes.
So that would be something that you would share with your potential borrowers as well. So that's something that's been kind of a rule of thumb for years and years. But a lot of people in today may not know that. So again, one extra payment per year can benefit you tremendously.
That's exactly right, and it increases your equity position as well, because you're paying less. You're paying less interest.
Yes,
and you're paying more towards principal, so that's increasing your equity. So if you do sell that house, you're going to have more equity to buy
the next home
for the next home. So it's a good strategy for those that can afford to do that. So getting back to the investment property question again, is we were seeing, at least during the pandemic when rates were like ridiculous, and investors were buying up properties like everywhere. I mean, everybody was buying up all kinds.
They had free money,
different properties because it was free money. But because of the home prices have gone up quite a bit, interest rates went up. Inflation is where it is. Inflation definitely impacts the rents also. So the rents in our area have gone up substantially. So that's another thing that those of you who don't own homes really need to think about that, because rents are not going to go down.
No, they're not going to go down.
They're going to continue to go up. So I'm talking to somebody like Gary and talking to somebody like myself, we can really map that out for you as to what those benefits will be.
So you're saying that to a renter, here's what you're paying. I'll just throw out a round number. You're paying $2,000 a month. For that same $2,000 a month, here's what you can buy.
Right.
And then you have lots of benefits to owning a home versus renting a home.
Well, you do. I mean, you have the tax deductions, right? Mm-hmm. You can write off the mortgage interest and write off the property taxes, and I think we can still do that.
Well, and there's other benefits. The benefit of knowing I want to do anything I want to do to my house, right, and I don't have to ask a landlord for permission. It's my home. Right. Very powerful.
Well, and it's very tough for young families to find a house to rent. There just aren't that many. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you have that kind of an issue too. And those of you that are pet owners, a lot of times you're not going to be able to rent a home if you have pets.
We are a community of pet lovers.
We are.
We're very pet friendly here.
Yes.
And so that really does reduce numbers of homes out there that allow you to have a pet.
That's right.
So when you talk about investors, I think more of the people that are trying to get into their homes and for the first time and maybe secure some safety, because if you're renting, there's times when you're renting at an apartment or you're renting at a condo or so you have a lot of neighbors. But if you buy your own home, you've got a lot less interference from people outside of your world.
Right. Oh, that's absolutely
the loud record. I was almost going to say record player. The loud music going next door.
You're dating yourself.
Yes, indeed.
Do you have very many people, especially young couples, that are used to living in apartments? Let's say. Do you have them come to you and say, "Hey, maybe I could buy a duplex or live in one side and rent out the other"?
There's always that request. Unfortunately, duplex
not
costs.
That many.
Yeah, there's not very many duplexes in our area, and they're also very expensive. Yeah. And so they have lost their glimmer, so to speak, or their glow. So that's something that's difficult without parent help or help from a relative to be able to buy. But it certainly is a nice, if you can buy a duplex, that's a good thing, because a lot of your mortgage gets paid by the neighbor. And then if you ever move out, you have two incomes coming in, basically paying that mortgage. So, the duplexes have a very good side to it.
Sure, but like you said, it's just kind of one of those things where you have a limited supply of them, so the cost of them, even when you do find one, they're very high in price. Now, for qualifying, if somebody were interested in purchasing a multifamily up to 4 units, the lenders, we actually do allow 75% of that rent to use for qualifying.
Oh, sure.
So that can help mitigate, the debt to income ratio. So.
Yeah, debt to income ratio, a certain percent of your income can be allowed for your home, but you can't be so much debt that proportion is out of balance, and you certainly can talk to them about the right balance.
Exactly.
And bottom line is they just need to come to you with questions already written out, already, because there's
Yeah.
a lot of people that just need some guidance.
Absolutely, and I've been doing this almost. Oh my God, I'm dating myself too. Almost 3 decades.
They had mortgages back then.
So they did have mortgages back then. So anyway, this has been very helpful. What do you expect in real estate prices year end? What do you think? Like
for Lane County, we're going to
Yeah.
continue to be short. We're not building enough homes. We're not building.
Yeah.
We're closed in unless they open up the boundaries where you can build.
Mhm.
This little combined area can only support so many houses.
Right.
And so now they're doing tiny houses. They're building a lot of condos. A lot of the new construction now are condos.
Right.
And so again, multi amounts of people in small areas is where we're leaning towards. We're always going to have a shortage unless we start building a lot more homes.
Right.
And where are we going to build them? Because there's no land available to build. So there'll
Absolutely.
always be a shortage, which means the more buyers per need for homes, it's just going to cause home prices to continue to rise. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, I see that. And well, you just look at where they're building homes. It's more in the outlying areas outside of the Eugene, Springfield, urban growth boundary. Monroe, Coburg.
Okay, I hear where you're. Well, that's Lane County
Junction
too.
City.
Yes, yes, and now there's a moratorium in Junction City, is my understanding, because they realize they're building faster than they can supply water, city water to those places.
Right. Oh, exactly.
So there's bottom line, prices are going to continue to go up. The sooner a person purchases, the better off they are. That's just my bottom line.
Yep. So those of you out there looking to buy a home, you heard it today from the expert Gary that home prices are going to continue to go up. So lock in that home price, and don't be afraid of the interest rates and the payment, because that's something that we can change for you. Once rates go down, you have the right. You can refinance that mortgage into a lower interest rate and a lower payment. So thank you so much.
You're
Gary.
welcome.